Hey everybody, Arnaldo here, broadcasting from Fidelio's frequency. Welcome to my channel. As I mentioned in my last video, last month I was on vacation and I visited Europe. I visited 3 different countries and various different cities. And I also mentioned that I would be preparing some videos about my shopping, or at least my record shopping experience in various cities. The first one that is up right now, as you probably noticed from the thumbnail, and the title is London. I visited quite a few record stores and I would like to take you on a walk throughout London, and I'll show you some footage of the record stores that I visited, and of course I will also show you what I picked up while I was shopping. So all of this right after the intro. While I was in London, I visited about 7 or 8 record stores. One of them I actually visited twice. There were quite a few on my list. London is a very spread out city, and some of them were in opposite parts of the city, and I didn't make it to all of them. Also because I wanted to do other things while I was there, and at one point I was a little shopped out from record shopping. So I didn't get to visit all of the record stores that were on my list. And I guess we'll start off with the first one that I visited on the first day that I arrived after a quick nap, catching up from the jet lag. In the afternoon, I went to the neighborhood of Islington, and I went to one of the 3 locations that Flashback Records has. So let's cut to some footage of the store. I'll give you a little brief overview of what the store looks like and a brief flip through of some of their record shelves, and we'll be back and I'll show you what I picked up and I'll give you my thoughts about Flashback Records. So I hope you enjoyed seeing what was on their walls and in their bins. Quite a bit of interesting stuff, high priced, moderately priced, and also some records that I thought were quite inexpensive. But great selection there at the Islington location of Flashback Records, I wanted to briefly show you their logo, their sticker, as well as the other locations. So the one on the top is Islington. They also have a location that I visited, and we'll talk about that later in the video, in Shoreditch. And the one that I did not make it to was the one in Crouch End that you see right there at the bottom. So Flashback Records have been around, as the bag says, since 1997. And I have to say, the layout of the stores is very similar. And they have an impressive wall of rare records. They have a lot of Beatles, and you probably saw that in the flip through of this particular record store. They have a good selection of used new arrivals, actually a quite ample selection. They have CDs, DVDs, I think I saw also some books. The upstairs was mostly pop, rock, and CDs. The downstairs had their selection of 7 inches, as well as jazz, classical, funk, soul, R&B, hip hop. And they also have their listening station. Very important to have listening stations. I think all of the record stores that I visited had those turntables where you could preview your records, or the ones that you were interested in buying, whether you wanted to check the condition, which is crucial, or you just wanted to sample a record. Very nice setup when it comes to that. One unique thing about record stores in the UK that I've noticed is on display in the record bins, you will mostly see record jackets. And you have to bring the record jacket downstairs, and they will give you the vinyl if you're interested in purchasing right then and there, or you can also preview it. But now let me show you what I picked up on my first trip to Flashback Records. I've always wanted to complete my U2 discography with UK originals, so I was very happy to find a excellent copy of Boy, U2's first album. You can actually see that it wasn't really that expensive, and you can also see how meticulous they are in their grading. They not only show the condition of the vinyl, but also the condition of the record jacket, which you can see right there because you're holding it. And they also have some notes. Sometimes they have notes on the specifics of the edition. Sometimes they have the matrices, or if it's a special version, they'll notate that in the sticker. So very nice to find this one with the original inner sleeve, very good condition, both the jacket and the record. Next up, truly British band, also looking to complete their, at least the main albums that I really like on in UK pressings. Sound Effects by The Jam, and also this one with the inner sleeve, all in very good condition. And this one is actually interesting because it has the pressed, the kind of like the molded labels. This is not a paper label, it's a molded label, kind of molded onto the record. If you see, I don't know if you could see it, but I believe there's also a version that has just the paper labels. And last but not least, I couldn't walk away since they had such a huge selection of Beatles records with a VG, I want to say plus, version of Abbey Road, the 1970 pressing, or is it 69? I think it's 69. And it has the -2, -1 matrices, which is the one that you really want to seek out. I think actually this may, even though it has those matrices, it may be a 71 or a 72 pressing, but very happy that I found it and it's in fantastic condition. It is the version that does not have Her Majesty listed on the cover, but it does have Her Majesty listed on the labels. Don't know if you could see it on this one. And I was lucky enough also to find this copy with the original inner sleeve. Although it's paper and it's plain, it still is the one that dates back to when the original edition, when it came out. On my second day there, I visited 2 stores that were both located on the east side of London. The first one being a store called World of Echo. I'll show you their card. and that is their logo. So let's cut to the brief footage of what the store looks like, a quick flip through the bins, and then we'll be back and I'll tell you a little bit more about the store and show you what I picked up. So as you probably saw, it is a smaller store. They had a lot of new releases, new records, but they also had a nice section of used secondhand records. Quite interesting pieces that I was almost tempted in getting at least two of them, one being the Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking, that comes in that over plastic sleeve. And that kind of covers the artwork, as well as a record, I don't know if you saw it in the flip through, by Moloko. But instead, I picked up only one record from the store. Very nice owner, had a really great chat with her. Fortunately, I forgot her name, but shout out to her and her very nice store. I picked up something that I never had seen before. Didn't even know the existence of it. I actually thought it was Scott 1, and this one is called The Romantic Scott Walker, and it is a compilation of songs by Scott Walker. So it was in great condition. Very curious to hear it. Haven't listened to it yet, and couldn't beat the price. As you see here, also very meticulously graded. So World of Echo, I picked up Scott Walker. From World of Echo, I walked over to the area of Brick Lane, and more importantly, I think it's called like the Shoreditch area. And I made my second stop at Flashback Records, their location in Shoreditch. And let's take a look at that store. A little slightly more extensive footage because it's a quite big store. So we'll be back and I'll tell you, and I'll tell you more about the record store, and I'll show you what I picked up there. As you probably saw from the footage, very impressive, even more so impressive wall of rare records. Very, very, very long shop. I want to say probably, maybe it is the same size, just laid out differently. I think it's all on one floor, whereas the previous location I saw the day before is laid out on two smaller floors. Very, very big selection of secondhand records and a lot of also newer releases there. And let me show you what I picked up there. I'm a fan of Japan, and I couldn't not, this was on my Discogs want list, could not hesitate since I picked it up at a very inexpensive price. David Sylvian, this was the 12-inch of, this was his first single as a solo artist, and something that has been also on my want list for a while. It was only released on vinyl in Europe. So when you see it, you grab it, because I haven't seen it around very often in the United States. Lenny Kravitz's second album called Mama Said, and excellent condition, as well as both the cover. Yeah, it does have a slight beginning of a seam split, but hey, for the price, you can't complain. And pristine and mint inner sleeve, and the Virgin labels from the time, because he was on Virgin Records, obviously. So that wraps up my short shopping spree for day 2. Day 3, I spent in Soho, visiting quite a few shops in that area. They're all very close and walkable one to the other. And the first record store that I stopped at is called, it's been there for a while, it's called Sounds of the Universe, and let's cut to the footage and you'll get an idea of what they offer. As you probably saw from the flip throughs, there is a lot of more like world music there. An extensive selection of Brazilian records, Latin records, as well as reggae, African records. I believe, obviously, they're mostly all imported. They're not very big when it comes to, yeah, they did have a selection of pop and rock used secondhand records, but I felt that their selection, their offering, was very ordinary. There was a lot of Barbra Streisand in those sections, and I think most of those records that here we find in the US, in the dollar bin, in the $5 bin, some records were, in my opinion, a little overpriced for what they were. Needless to say, they also offer CDs, DVDs, books. I believe they also had some merch, but I walked away with nothing. I didn't buy anything, also because I was trying to, I knew that I was going to other record stores, that maybe the heavy hitter record stores, and I wanted to pace myself and shop around. I wasn't in a hurry, so I could always come back and pick up if I had remembered that something was memorable. I could always go back. So onwards down the street or around the block, somewhere around there, I went to Berwick Street, where two very important record stores are located. The first one being Reckless Records. So let's cut to the footage for Reckless Records. We'll talk a little bit about Reckless, and I'll show you what I picked up there, which is quite a bit. What a wall of rare records at Reckless. I had a hard time trying to capture all of them. I think it's like 3 or 4 different rows. It's a very tall store. And I actually remember going to Reckless more than 20 years ago. And for some reason, I knew there was a second floor, there was a basement. But as I was chatting with the owner, they told me, oh, that was a different location, still on Berwick Street, but they moved, I think, a few doors down. So still a very nice and very extensive location for Reckless Records. Let me show you the bag from Reckless. And now I can show you what I picked up there. I will say that almost all of the record stores that I visited, some were just offering, as you present them the records, to give you a discount, especially if you're buying at least 3 or 4 or 5 records. They'll offer a discount. They'll give you a good price. This one actually threw in a free record for me. So, and I'll get to that in a minute. Of course, like all the other record stores that I've talked about so far, their grading is very meticulous, especially starting with the sleeve. So you see on this Brian Wilson, the single Wonderful that I think came out in the occasion of the release of the Smile record. You can see, not on this one specifically, but you can definitely see on the other ones that I'll show you shortly how they grade their records. This is really cool because, yeah, on this one they notated that it is blue vinyl. The next record, I have been searching for a copy, VG or VG Plus condition for quite some time. Obviously a UK edition of The Clash, Combat Rock. I found it there at Reckless, and even though it does not have the sticker on it, which is supposed to indicate that it comes with a poster, it does come with a poster, so that made me really thrilled. You don't always find the poster. I'm fine with not having the sticker, but let me show you the poster briefly. There are 2 posters actually that came out. One was a later poster, which I believe only replicated the album artwork, and the very first version came with a poster that has a picture of the band. So obviously also comes with the original inner sleeve and the custom labels on the record. So very happy to have found a great copy of Combat Rock. Next up is a copy of a record that I already own. It's not very expensive here in the United States. And from my experience, Elton John records, the MCA pressings from the US don't sound that great. I've had Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. I've had Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And after I got copies of both of those records, the UK Dick James, the DJM issues from the UK, I could clearly tell the difference on the UK pressings. And same thing for Madman Across the Water. And yeah, as you can see here, not very expensive, and it tells you the grading. So very cool. I'll show you the inside. I mean, just like the textured, I think this is actually a nicer texture. Feel like it's almost like that denim feel. So nicely textured cover, and just so that you kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about, is the DJM label, the black label, which are the ones definitely to get when it comes to Elton John. The booklet also stapled in. I won't flip through it, but yeah, happy to find that copy. As I mentioned earlier, I am on a quest to find UK pressings of U2 records. Earlier at Flashback, I found Boy, and I was lucky enough at Reckless to find a copy of War. And War actually came out in two different versions. Had like a matte, non-glossy, almost textured cover. This one is the glossy cover, but still fantastic that it came with the custom. It's not a custom inner sleeve, but it is the Island inner sleeve that came at the time, just advertising other records on the label, and very nice with the custom U2 labels, as opposed to the US version, which just had the purple Island. So happy to have found also U2 War. A record that I missed when I was shopping at a record store in New York City. Another customer was listening to it. It was actually playing and swiped it from under me. I rarely see this record in the United States. That only copy slipped through my fingers. Bad timing, but I guess patience rewards those, I guess, who are persistent, or, you know, rule number one in record buying, patience. And lo and behold, I did find a copy of Mary Margaret O'Hara. I think this is her debut album called Miss America. If you don't know it, if you don't know her, I recommend you check out this record. It is absolutely beautiful. She is featured, some may know, she is featured doing some vocals, weird vocal stuff on November Spawned a Monster, the song by Morrissey. So happy to have found Mary Margaret O'Hara. Another group I really wanted UK pressing of this record, which I think is their best and my favorite. I'm talking about Culture Club's Color by Numbers. Yeah, these are records that are very easy to find in the United States. I do have a US copy, but this one is slightly different because instead of having a inner sleeve, it has a fold-out insert, a three-way fold-out insert. So happy to have found that in mint condition at a very, very affordable price. I don't know if you can see it here. It was marked as £8, so great to have found that. And last but not least, at Reckless, and this is the record that I was gifted, is a copy of the first Everything But the Girl album called Eden. So thanks to Reckless for gifting this to me, or just throwing it in as a freebie. On Berwick Street, another record store, very famous record store, long-standing. I believe it was from 1989. Reckless precedes this one by a few years. That one, Reckless, was around since 1984. Sister Ray is the next record store I'd like to talk to you about. Please take note in the video where this location is. Some of you will recognize it immediately. It is the location of a very famous album cover. You'll actually see at the end of the video which album cover it is. So let's take a look at Sister Ray. mystery revealed. If you saw at the end of the video, the Oasis cover, What's the Story, Morning Glory, was shot there in the early hours of the morning because you don't see that many people there. It was kind of impossible for me to get that shot unless I just edit all the people out. But yes, that was Sister Ray, the location. And a little bit about the store. It's been around since 1989, as I said earlier. 2 floors, mostly the top floor, the entrance floor, is new records and CDs, I believe. And all the heat is downstairs. That's where they have the more rare records, which you saw on the wall. One of them being the turquoise variant of Led Zeppelin. And this one was actually signed by Robert Plant. So, wow, that is a pretty hefty price tag, along with a lot of other things. I'm not sure if you were able to zoom in, but they had some heat there at Sister Ray. Let me show you the bag. There's Sister Ray. And let me show you what I picked up at Sister Ray. Something that I passed on during Record Store Day. I'm a fan of Suede, and I was able to find a copy of the single that came out on Record Store Day called New Generation. It's a picture disc version. And I picked up also something that I probably could have gotten in the United States, but it's a gift for someone special who wanted it and could not pass up getting the indie exclusive of Kate Bush's The Dreaming, and this one comes on a smoky vinyl. At the next record store, I didn't purchase anything. It just wasn't my vibe. Maybe, I don't know, the layout, the music they were playing. It's around the corner from the Berwick Street stores. It's called Phonica. Brief footage. They focus mostly on techno, electronica, house, and they did have a section, a very small section of pop, rock, secondhand records, very ordinary titles, nothing mind-blowing and interesting for me. I spent maybe 15, 20 minutes in that store. So that wraps up day 2 of shopping in London. On day 3, I did something a little bit different. I didn't do your typical record store shopping. I did shop for records, but the location is quite different, a little unusual. I went to Portobello Road in the north part of London. Most people know Portobello Road for their antiques, I want to say, and their vintage. A lot of secondhand vintage clothes, and maybe it's a flea market according to some, but very happening. I was happy to be able to go there for the first time. Even though I had been to London several other times, I never made it to Portobello Road. And I was happy I did because I found something that I was not expecting. Picked up quite a few records, and something that is a bit of a rarity. You probably know I'm a huge Smiths fan, and I've never come across a copy of this. This is Morrissey's debut album, known as Viva Hate, but the initial title was Education in Reverse, and you can only find Australian copies with that title before it was withdrawn. So I was really happy to find this. Never seen it anywhere else. Pretty much the same as the regular edition. Nothing changes on the inside, same inner sleeve, but really happy to find this. I've always wanted to find, I have quite a few of their UK pressings, and I was able to find a copy of Roxy Music's second album, For Your Pleasure. Love the picture, always loved the picture of Amanda Lear on it. Very glossy cover, and I gotta show you this as well. The only thing, unfortunately, supposed to come with a light blue inner sleeve. This one doesn't, but oh well. I never come across this album in such great condition, so I couldn't pass it up just because it was missing the blue inner sleeve. And then 2 records that I own American copies of. I've always wanted British copies, UK pressings, because the covers are better. And I'm hoping, haven't listened to them yet, that they also sound better. One actually is different also in terms of the versions of the songs that are on there, but I'll get to that in a minute. Duran Duran, Seven and the Ragged Tiger, probably my favorite Duran Duran album. Differs from the US because the inner sleeves are heavy cardstock. And the textured sleeve of Rio, also by Duran Duran, with also the heavy cardboard inner sleeve. This one glossy. I think also the American is glossy, but more importantly, the versions of 3 or 4 songs on the UK version are different. The US version has remixes that were made more appealing for the US radio, I guess. So happy to pick that one up too. And another mini rarity, I wouldn't call it a rarity, I just never see it around other than on Discogs. And it is a 12-inch by an artist that I love called The. This is his EP called Shades of Blue, which has 4 songs. 2 covers, beautiful covers, one Solitude and the other one Dolphins, and has a outtake, Jealous of Youth, and a live track, Another Boy Drowning. So happy to find that also in Portobello Road. On the last day before I left London, I made another stop at Flashback Records. As you could probably tell, I really love that store. Went back to the location in Islington and I picked up a few more records. One that I had already set my eyes on at the beginning of the trip. I was hoping to find other copies in the same condition, maybe a little bit cheaper. I didn't, so had to head back there. I also, browsing through, I guess they got a fresh stock of new or secondhand records. I picked up another UK copy of a jam record called The Gift. I think this is their final album. Also this one in almost near mint condition with inner sleeves. And I don't come by this one in the United States, UK copies of Queen's A Day at the Races. I really enjoy this album. It has Somebody to Love and quite a few other key Queen tracks. Happy to have found that. And then I don't have the first Sinead O'Connor album with the original UK cover, where she is actually screaming instead of the US version. I thought maybe they wanted to censor her already back then in the first, where she has a more pensive look, looking down. I love this because this cover represents what Sinead O'Connor was about. Fiery, a rebel. And I was able to find a UK copy of this, excellent condition, as well with, where's the inner? It's got to be in here. Yeah, nice heavy cardstock inner. I'm kind of a sucker for heavy cardstock inners. And last but not least, probably the most expensive item that I bought on my trip in London. I could not pass up, and I went back for this one, back to Flashback Records to get a mono first pressing of Sgt. Pepper. Excellent condition. This time I listened to it. The other copy that I own, I bought at a record fair. Doesn't sound that great, even though visually it's perfect. This one, I play tested it. Chef's kiss. It also comes, obviously, with the cutout or insert, like some people say, as well as a not so great condition inner sleeve, the psychedelic inner sleeve. Before I wrap up this video, there are 2 more things that I wanted to show you. 2 stores that I visited that are music related. One is a record store. I mean, they both sell records, but they're more merchandise heavy. I visited the London location, still in Soho, of Third Man Records. And of course, a lot of yellow, a lot of really cool clothing. They have the turntables, they have shot glasses, they have pencils, pens, notebooks, I think. Of course, they have a smaller selection of records. And downstairs, they also have a live room, like with live gear where you can play. I don't know who exactly plays there, if they have in-stores down there. Very, very small room. And then I couldn't pass up the opportunity when I was on Carnaby Street in London to step into the Rolling Stones at Carnaby Street. Uh, Beautiful stuff, art, prints, records, of course, lots of merchandise, a lot of clothing, a couple things were on sale. They also have a line of perfumes or colognes. So it's spread out on 2 floors. Really worth seeing, really cool experience. And that brings us to the end of this very long video on record shopping in London. Thank you so much for sticking through to the very end. Let me know your thoughts about the record stores that I visited. Feel free to suggest any record stores that I may have missed. And there were a few on my list that I didn't get a chance to go to, namely the other location in Crouch End of Flashback Records, Stranger Than Paradise, and I think it was called the other one, The Little Record Shop. Maybe next time I visit London, I'll hit those. Let me know your thoughts about the records that I picked up. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Hit that subscription button. And coming up on the channel, probably 2 more videos on record shopping in Europe, Amsterdam, and possibly also Italy. But until then, I guess that's it for today. And thank you again so much for watching. See you on the next one. Bye.